Welcome to the Christie Taylor Show. I'm your host, Christie Taylor, and today we're going global. Yes, I'm super excited to be introduced to a dynamic duo, and they are north of the border in Canada, but they got a Latin pop twist to it. I'll be giving you more information about our guest. One of our guests here today, we have Canadian Latin pop sensations BenAnthony Lavoz and Delon Om recently dropped their new EP, The Gentleman and Scholar. Coming off the success of their summer hit single, One More Time, the pop sensations went dark for their latest project. Now, they also brought in some heavy hitters to produce The Gentleman and a Scholar. We'll be talking to them about that. And also, I want you to know that these are no newbies. As a matter of fact, BenAnthony, he is a Toronto native and Latin Grammy Award winner. And Delon Om, a former Canadian Idol contestant, songwriter, and music producer signed to Ultra Records. Now, they are offering on this EP, an EP that speaks to the resilience of the human spirit in hopes that lessons learned and paths walked will give others hope and encouragement to step out of the dark and into the light. Our special guest today, none other than Delon. We're going to bring him to the stage. Hey, welcome.
Thank you for that thoughtful introduction. That was so lovely.
Oh, you are the kindest. I see right now. In the South, you would call you, say you're buttering me up. Yes, you are buttering me up. I love it, though. I need a little butter. I need a little butter right about now. So, Delon Om, could you make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly?
That's fabulous. Yes, Delon Om. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, of course, you two are two very famous musicians, artists, singer-songwriters, performers in Canada, but you also have a Latin pop sensation to it. So that means you have a global audience. Can you first of all tell me about your career and also share with me about BenAnthony and then the collaboration?
Absolutely, yes. I have been in Canada all of my life, born and raised in Toronto. I've done some work for local artists, which have done incredible things, moving on into the global screen, global arena, if you will. Served as a producer, songwriter. I was actually a contestant on Canadian Idol. I know American Idol has, like, you're into your 20th, 30th season.
Yes.
In Canada, we only lasted for about, I would say, 10 to 12 seasons. So wasn't as popular. I mean, the American Idol has more traction, I presume. But I started off there singing covers, Stevie Wonder covers. Ooh. And after that, I decided to join a group with my cousin, and we were signed to Sensei Musica and Ultra Records. We toured the planet. We toured the globe, opening for very famous acts. And now I have started to focus on a solo project. The last thing I did was with one of my producers, David Neale. We opened for Genuine, which is one of my favorite artists. And
what America. You said, Pony. Don't forget Pony.
Girl, when that song came on, you should have seen the crowd in Toronto.
Oh my goodness.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So that's my story. And BenAnthony, he has been very active in the Latin community. He is a 2-time Latin Canadian winner.
Wow.
He's been nominated countless times. He is a part of a collective called Sensei Musica, which has won Grammys for international artists. Sensei Musica has also been featured on the Fast and Furious film franchise.
Wow.
So we decided to do an intercultural project, half English, half Spanish, just really bringing these two worlds together. And the results, I think, were incredibly cathartic and really exciting. And so far, the reception has been so warm and so positive. So I'm so humbled to be a part of this project.
I actually heard that the collaboration was also something that came out of the pandemic. Can you tell me about that part?
Absolutely, yes. Well, Ben is a global citizen. He travels all across the world. And he was stuck in Canada, because of the lockdowns, the quarantine. And at that point, this is approximately a year ago in July, I had met a producer that I had worked with a couple of times named Sheldon Moore, who just won a Juno, might I add, for Best Gospel Album of the Year. Wow. So he said, hey, I know this guy named BenAnthony. I work with him. Would you like to meet him? And maybe you guys can do a single together. So initially, it was going to be one single. And after that, we decided that we had such a great chemistry. So we crafted an entire album. And for me, the goal was to create something that was based on intercultural humility and just intercultural interaction. So we wanted to bring flares from, Latin America, from Guyana, from Ecuador, all of these places across the world, and package it so it could be, something enjoyable for the masses.
I know that there was a single that you all released, very, very upbeat and fun. Can you tell us about that and how the video was amazing?
Thank you. Well, yes. So that video is actually a remix of one of the singles entitled "One More Time." We had an R&B pop version, and then Sensei Musica, the collective that is responsible for all of those Grammys that I mentioned, decided they wanted to remix it. So with Ben's input, they put together this fabulous Latin American vibe. And hey, some people say they prefer that version over the original. So I'm very happy about that. Absolutely.
Wow. So singer-songwriters, global artist, and here it is, joining forces, collaborating, and really great music, really great energy to it all. Now, you brought in some heavy hitters for this project, which is a gentleman and a scholar. Did I say that right?
Yeah, the Gentleman and Scholar. That's the name of the project. Yeah,
the Gentleman and the Scholar. The question that I had, one of the questions was, who is the gentleman? Who's the scholar?
Well, it depends on the time of day. It depends on the day of the week. It's certainly identities that are shifting. One day I feel a bit more suave, so I feel like I'm that gentleman where he's more analytical. And some days I feel like I'm more critical and analytical, and he's a bit more the ladies' man, so have you. So it certainly shifts, and that dynamic is really what brings us together. We are gentlemen. We treat women, we treat our partners with the utmost respect, but we're also scholars. We're critical, we're analytical, and we're reflective, and we really wanted to hone that in on this album.
Well, it's really a great album. And of course, you brought in some heavy hitters, and you've already spoken to some, but can you just talk about the weight of the producers that you had on this album and how that came together, particularly in 2020 into 2021? I mean, that's something else.
Yeah, I mean, if you told me I would have crafted an entire album during a global pandemic, I would have said, no way. Christie, there's absolutely no way that's even feasible. But, the power of technology and persistence, human resilience during this time. The very first song on the album is an introduction to the album.
Yes.
And David Neale and I, we took audio clips because this pandemic showed us the worst side of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
We saw anti-Asian racism.
Mm-hmm.
We saw waves of anti-Asian violence in North America. You know, we saw, Black folks being murdered at the hands of police officers, igniting some kind of change within the North American context,
Yes.
calling for the abolition of police services, calling for more mental health services, more programming, more training. And we really wanted to hone in on that. This album isn't just an album that one vibes out to at a club. We wanted it to be reflective. And it's easy to create bangers for a club. So I wanted to be very selective with the people that I enlisted and I entrusted for the production. So David Neale, a close friend of mine, if you follow Canadian music, there was a group called Jack Soul, and Jack Soul was iconic in my opinion. You would never have thought that this group would have originated in the Canadian context. They were soul, funk, R&B, and they moved on to win Junos and they were nominated for Grammys. And that is the direct cousin. David Neale is the direct cousin of the lead singer from that group. And he's just so thoughtful and so organic with his approach to music. And he really channeled a lot of that in this project. Very talented. He's worked with Karl Wolf, Peter Jackson. He's done Adidas campaigns, commercials and stuff like that. So I really wanted to get his input on this album. Sheldon Moore has worked with Tory Lanez. Oh, absolutely. So, we brought him in and he won a Juno this year for Best Gospel Album. And,
Congratulations. Oh, wow.
Thank you. Yeah. So we really wanted to celebrate each other's strengths. And then, of course, TJ Habibi, he's also a producer for Maestro. I'm not sure, you're probably familiar with Maestro in the American context. Very international artist. Before Drake, it was Maestro, right? Maestro was the godfather of hip hop in the Canadian scene, and TJ Habibi is his main man. So he did the vocals, he did all of the engineering. So it was really a collaborative effort to celebrate. While I mentioned, we saw the ugly side of humanity during projects like this, you saw the beauty of humanity coming together to work in a collaborative effort.
Well, I love the fact that you're speaking to the collaborative effort and having people with legacies and charted music. That is beautiful. And particularly, I noted that there was one song, Follow the Leader, that you also brought in a recognizable talent. Did you talk about that collaboration as well?
Absolutely. Danny Fernandes is a Canadian treasure. He's won MMVA awards. He's been nominated for Junos. Certainly an iconic individual. Danny has been very vocal about his struggles with addiction. And there was a time in his career where he enlisted and booked himself into a clinic for help. And because of that, we reached out to him, and I'd always been a fan. I never thought he would even entertain the idea of working with me because, growing up a young adult, even a teenager, I loved his music. And when I heard about his struggles with addiction, I decided that would be a great opportunity to really, share with the world what you've been going through. So the song Follow the Leader is about finding that inspiration in life to break the shackles of despair, depression, and addiction. Danny has a saying. He says, the opposite of addiction is connection. And, we connected, and a fruitful and beautiful friendship was the result of it. So,
wow. Because you all did touch on in this particular project some darker toned messages. Can we just kind of talk about the leaning toward that? And were you the primary songwriter?
Yes, Ben and I, we split it 50-50. We both have lived experiences beyond the scope of this album. And, the dark tones, we're coming to terms with who we are, as individuals. As I mentioned, the pandemic really showed a side of humanity that some of us have never seen. I'm not sure. I'm almost certain in America it was the same. In Canada, you had people engaging in anti-Asian racism, violent assaults, verbal, nonverbal. We had vendors, small shops hiking up prices for things like hand sanitizer and toilet paper, and just to show you the greed and the absolute ignorance, for the well-being of your fellow human beings, right? Your fellow citizens of cities and countries. And, in this album, we talk about that. We talk about, what does it take to push someone to that edge? We spoke about our own insecurities, as members of the LGBTQ plus community. We spoke about, the notion of struggling with that identity and what it looks like and how we reconcile these idealized versions of what it means to be a man and our own experiences, our realities.
You have really touched on quite a bit for, that particular project. Because here in America, and definitely I'm in Tennessee, so in the deeper South, where there's a lot of conservative thought processes, there were some upheaval and some uprisings. I will say that Memphis is known for a lot of things, mainly our music and our barbecue. Elvis and BB Kings, as long with a lot of, also 3-6 Mafia.
Yes,
But it also, sadly, is also connected to Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. So there's a lot of history here when it comes to those type of clashes of just not understanding each other. And as you say, this really did expose a lot of people, but it also gave, depending on what was in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And as you spoke to, some people have hearts that need a little bit more light, but it also gave opportunities for projects like yours and a lot of goodwill that happened over the last 12 to 18 months. So including the birth of this show. Actually, this show came out of the pandemic. So I am grateful that it has now connected me with amazing people all over the country and in Canada, and having a chance to meet with amazing artists like yourself. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about now, digging deeper into the project, just giving a little quick glimpse.
Ah, yes.
Now, this is a very sexy vibe. I really was enjoying The Gentleman and a Scholar, the album. Give me the direction, the art direction. In addition to the music, you all took great lengths to really communicate through the music, through the videos, and even through your artwork. What was the mindset behind that?
Christie, we wanted it to be timeless, and when I think of timeless, I think of a gentleman. The gentleman is a timeless archetype within our culture, suave, debonair, just really cool and sophisticated. And that was the vibe we were going for, I'm not a fan of pre-programmed beats and licensing beats. Everything on this album was done by me on guitar, piano, with David Neale. We wanted it to be organic. We wanted it to be timeless. So 5, 10, 15 years from now, people can't say, oh yeah, that was a part of, the mumble rap movement or the trap rap music or, whatever the case. We wanted it to be timeless, like a Prince album, a Michael Jackson album.
Yes.
You can listen to a Michael Jackson album today and you can't really designate what genre it is. It's pop, right? You can't say, you'll know because you're probably growing up listening to it, but I can play these records today and say, wow, that sounds like a Doja Cat song,
Correct.
The disco vibe, the pop vibe, because what's old is new, right? Sounds and vibes are recycled. And we wanted to create that kind of illusion for this project, just keeping with the one word, timeless and everlasting.
Well, truly, the music is timeless. The music video is timeless. The art direction, timeless. And I went to your Instagram and I saw a post, and I actually saw another clip that you all had on YouTube where you were at a baby grand piano. Let me tell you something. I just took a few piano lessons when I was a little girl, but I have this amazing love for the piano, particularly if it's a baby grand. Music was my first love, singing and things of that nature before radio and television. But let me tell you something. You spoke about the composing of the music, but can we talk about your musicality, because it's flawless?
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. I'm trained in piano, guitar, bass, and a bit of cello. So, I tried to integrate all of these different instruments because I do think that each instrument has a story, and we wanted to tell separate, distinct stories on this album, whether it's about, racism and prejudice and discrimination and sexism and so on and so forth, right? So I believe that an instrument is an entity on its own, and the striking of the strings on a cello tell a different story than a piano or a guitar, right? So we really wanted to ensure that the voice, if you will, of these instruments were heard by listeners.
Wow, really beautiful. I'm just really loving this. And you said something earlier. If you don't have a problem going back to it, it had to do with the community in which you are celebrated in, both from a national, racial, and also gender preference. Can we talk about how you have been able to just forge ahead in sometime in a very restrictive industry?
Absolutely. One of the titles of the songs on this album is called Manhood. And the chorus is, my manhood is a tragedy, and manhood being a tragedy, that was something that I came up with because there's so many idealized expectations about being a man in this society, and it's very challenging and very difficult to live up to those expectations. And, there is an intersectionality with my identity as with yours. You're a woman, but you're Black, you live in a certain country, a certain state, right? Yeah. Your experiences are going to be different from, let's say, a Black woman in Canada, right?
That's
just
true.
Given the history and the culture and just your lived experiences. And my intersectional identity is based on my gender, my sexuality, my race, my ethnicity, my class, so on and so forth. So, I really wanted to channel that within this music. And, I've had some folks reach out saying, that song Manhood changed my life because it really highlighted some of the struggles that I've encountered as a man living in this day and age, right? Very challenging.
I think that's the song that said, I broke my the boyhood.
Oh my God. You quoting that, Christie, I feel like I've gone to heaven. Just by virtue of you remembering and paraphrasing those lyrics, that means that I've accomplished my task as an artist. Yes, thank you so much. It's I broke the boy inside of me.
Broke the boy inside of me. Yeah.
That innocence, the innocence is gone after a while, right?
And I think, as you know, when you are a true artist and I'm a writer, because I love to do poetry and write in different mediums. I've written a song or two, but I kind of live in the poetic space. When you write words that resonate regardless of nationality, gender, all of those boundaries, because I too have lived experiences where I broke the girl inside of me. So when you said I broke the boy inside of me, I'm like, oh, I was like, oh, that's kind of deep. I was like, okay, little deepness there.
Well, we have to exchange info because I'd be honored to co-write or sing one of your productions.
Oh my goodness. All right. See, you really about to, okay. I keep saying every time I talk to someone from Canada, I said, okay, as soon as we are able to, I'm coming to Toronto. I'm going to come hang out. I'm coming to hang out.
You and me, I'll take you to the nicest restaurant in Toronto.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it. Well, this has truly been delightful. But I do want to know, how can those of us stateside and those who are going to watch this around the globe support you all in this amazing venture?
Oh my goodness. The support is translated into just listening to the music. We plan on launching a tour in the new year. So, our social media is probably the best way to find out what's going on. Instagram, Twitter, my website, so on and so forth. For me, it's _Delon. Delon _Om. And for BenAnthony, it's BenAnthony Lavoz. All across the board, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, so on and so forth.
Wow. Of course, I am super excited that I'm kind of at the front end of this. So when you all blow up and win a Grammy or Juno.
Well, we have submitted for the Junos. Fingers
crossed. Good.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
For the Canadian Latin Awards. So right now we're just crossing our fingers. The nomination results should be released in about a week or so. So I'll definitely reach out to you. Yeah, I'll make sure Sasha does as well.
Oh, shout out to her. You're amazing publicist. Shout out to her. All right. Well, this has been delightful. And for those who would like to learn more about them, be sure to check out his website and give us that real quick, that website.
Just DelonOm.music.
That's DelonOm.com.
Yes.
All right. And of course, you can Google that and find him on all social media platforms. And this album, The Gentleman and the Scholar. Let me give you that right there. See, this is sexy, y'all. The Gentleman and Scholar. The Gentleman and Scholar.
Yes.
That is so retro. I just was like, oh, and I actually enjoyed listening to it on repeat. I mean, just really vibing to it. I've always enjoyed world music. And I like the fact that you all did have a very world vibe, R&B vibe, in addition to the Latin pop infusion. So truly, you all are pushing the boundaries of this album, The Gentleman and Scholar. And to know that The Gentleman and Scholar is both of you all at different times.
Different days, different months,
I love it. I love it. Any last things you want to make sure you share with our audience before we go?
Oh, I just want to thank you for having this platform. And, you know, you said it during a pandemic, you know, you found a way to share positivity, love. So I applaud you. Kudos to you, Christie, for doing this. And I wish you nothing but success in the future.
Well, thank you very much. And I'll be in touch about them songs, honey, and about singing my poetry. I actually have this one that friends always joke about because it's very artsy. But I'm going to see if you can do something with it. It might be something. Maybe that's what it is. It needs your flair. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching the Christie Taylor Show. You can check us out every Tuesday here inside the Taylor Tilton Hour. That's Tuesdays at 10 a.m. on Comcast 31 here in Memphis, Tennessee. Also watch the replays on YouTube. Listen to us on your favorite podcast platforms. And also you can check us out on ChristieTaylorOnline.com. Enjoy. Have a great day.